For more, we're joined by former Chicago police officer Dimitri Roberts. Dimitri, always good to see you, although I wish it wasn't under such tragic circumstances. I want to ask you, what goes through a police officer's mind when they encounter someone with a gun, regardless of their race?
Well, what goes through their mind immediately is officer safety. How do I protect myself, and then how do I protect the community? Because if I effectively make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do to ensure that I'm safe, then I can further protect the community as well as eliminate this threat if this actually in fact is a threat.
A lot of the recent shootings that we've seen, it's been a white officer that shot a black man, but in Charlotte it's different. This was a black officer that shot and killed Keith Scott, a black man. Does the race of the officer matter to the black community?
No, what matters is that there's another black member of the community dead at the hands of police encounter. I've said this before, and it's worth saying again. There are cultural differences that are at play here. The cultural divides between the law enforcement community as well as the community as a whole needs to be addressed. There's a real problem with law enforcement culture in this country. And culture doesn't have a color, and that's what we see playing out on the streets, and that's why community members are rioting, taking to the streets in the ways that they are, because they don't feel like they have a voice.
Dimitri, what needs to change in terms of police training in order to decrease the number of shootings taking place? I mean, there are many activists who have said, look, you have a suspect now in these bombings in New York City and New Jersey. He's involved in a shootout with police officers. He survives that. Dylan Roof is in jail right now. He's going to face trial. But in many, many other instances, and even if you look at the case in Tulsa right now, this man, according to the videotape that we've seen, and we don't have all the details in just yet, but he was walking away from the police officers, and yet he still lost his life. So a lot of people are just wondering what is involved in the training that makes some of these officers not prepared or not better equipped to handle situations with a suspect like that.
Well, let me tell you from my experience what caused me to be effective when I worked in the toughest neighborhood in the city of Chicago and maybe even in the country. It was because I had cultural competency around the issues that were going on in that community. I used to have to pull out my gun just about every night working in Inglewood. But the reason nobody ever was killed at the other end of any interaction that I had was because I looked at those members that I had to deal with as fellow community members. I was a part of that community. I grew up in it. So I dealt with the community much different than some of my fellow officers. What needs to change? We need to put community members in front of police officers and allow them to train police officers on the cultural differences that are going on in their communities prior to them going and policing there.
Dimitri, we just had Charlotte Mayor Jennifer Roberts on our air, and she said she will not release the video, the other body cam video that she has, because the investigation is still pending, but she is willing to show certain community leaders the video. Do you think that would help and make a difference if she does that in the next 24 to 48 hours?
It's a step in the right direction. And those are the proactive steps that cities, police agencies, as well as community members need to continue to take. I've said this before. There are more things that unify us than there are that divide us. And this mayor obviously understands the human factor behind these things, and she's bringing the community into the process. I commend her for that, and I hope it's taken up by other members of law enforcement as well as other politicians around tough issues like this.
Dimitri Roberts, thank you.
Thank you.